Cypress Fairbanks Independent School District presents our on-demand professional development series. Welcome to Taking Flight for New Teachers, Navigating Through Your First Year of Teaching. This is part 3 of our 3-part series. As you embark on this exciting journey, we want to ensure that you feel prepared, supported, and inspired. You are taking flight as a new teacher, and our goal is to introduce you to essential strategies, resources, mindsets that will help you thrive in your new role. Teaching is a rewarding and impactful profession, and we're here to help you navigate the challenges and celebrate the joys of this incredible journey. In this video, you'll learn about key practices and approaches that will set you up for success in your classroom. This 3-part training will navigate you through the essential strategies to help you pilot your way through your first teaching experience. Part 1 focused on routines and procedures, while Part 2 focused on clear expectations for behavior. Part 3 will focus on your reaction to and how to address when things don't go your way, when you have to address misbehavior. Buckle up, let's get going. In Part 3 of the series, New Teacher Taking Flight, we'll first discuss turbulence, noncompliance, and handling disrespect. Houston, we have a problem. Our next section will discuss redirection and consequences. And then finally, becoming a Top Gun, consistency and sustaining expectations. Here we go. Even when you've set up expectations and routines well, there will still be disruptive behavior that you have to deal with. Part of learning and growing up is pushing and testing limits. So when your students do just that, they're actually just learning to grow and become the adults that they will be one day. Being proactive does decrease the severity and likelihood of events, but it doesn't prevent them entirely. How you address situations matters. On the screen is a list of some inappropriate behaviors that you could possibly see in your classroom. Being prepared for what you will see is your first step in prevention. Even before you begin the lesson or as you're planning out the lesson, you're thinking about 2 things: the behaviors that you are expected to see, the behaviors that you want to show up, those desirable behaviors, but you're also thinking about the inappropriate behaviors that you want to prevent. Knowing how you will address the behaviors when they do show up will help you not be so overly reactive. Notice third on the list is pencil sharpening. No, it's not inappropriate for students to sharpen their pencils, but it is inappropriate for them to break their pencils on purpose and get up and repeatedly go up to the pencil sharpener to sharpen their pencil. When we think that this could be an issue, having a plan in place helps us address the inappropriate behavior and still maintain a positive relationship with our students. Now, we're going to spend a lot of time on being proactive and setting students up for success, teaching and reviewing the routines and procedures, and going over the expectations. However, we will need to redirect inappropriate behavior. Let's go through the list. Make sure that we're checking in privately with the student. There may be issues going on that you're unaware of. The last thing you want to do is embarrass the student in front of their peers, as this may escalate the situation. You may ask, "Are you having a bad day? Is there anything I can help you with?" Or simply, "What should you be doing?" And let the student say, "Well, I should be reading," or "I should be working on my assignment." When you call out a student in front of their peers, it can lead to an escalated situation. Number 2, explain appropriate behaviors ahead of time. This is a proactive way to address behaviors that may occur. Have students echo the expectations back to you to check for understanding before moving on. Many times, this is called a preventive prompt. Use nonverbal cues. Use a redirection signal. Proximity control. Move closer to the student to communicate that you're aware of the problem and would like help to redirect the behavior. Reinforce with positive classroom participation. Use nonverbal social reinforcers, a smile, a thumbs up, a nod, a high five, or a pat on the back. These are great to use when the class is supposed to be quiet. You're modeling that quiet behavior, but still providing reinforcement. Tangible or graphic reinforcers. Campus bucks through your PBIS system, stickers, stamps, positive marks in their folders or their papers. In Schoology, when we're working with electronic activities, we are providing feedback. Active reinforcers. Students are able to complete a preferred task, maybe something that they have been looking forward to, maybe sitting in the beanbag chair or sitting in your chair or using a special set of markers. Let's talk about consequences. Consequences are not punishments. In fact, we view misbehavior as lack of skill. So if a student isn't meeting our expectations, perhaps they don't have the skills needed to meet those expectations. So we treat behavior as a teachable moment. A consequence is simply what happens when a person does something. It's the result of a person's chosen action. It is advisable to spend more time discussing consequences than discussing rules. Help students understand that their actions or choices result in consequences, and consequences can be negative or positive. The two types of consequences. There's positive consequences, or what I like to call reinforcements. They're the results of someone following the expectations. Then there's negative consequences. They are the result of someone not following the expectations. Whatever you use, positive or negative, consequences must be logical. Let's talk about restorative discipline approaches. What are restorative practices or approaches? Restorative practice is a process by which the individual acknowledges wrongdoing, takes steps to repair harm, and welcome back into the school community. This fosters a culture that elevates dialogue and values relationships. Again, we're looking at the approach to misbehavior as a teachable moment. It's a chance to teach skills instead of just punishment. We don't want students just to pay. If they're lacking skill, we want to help them gain that skill so they can stop making the same mistakes. Here's an example of a set of restorative questions that you could use with your students after misbehavior has occurred. You can also create what are called think sheets for students to complete after displaying inappropriate behavior. This allows students to reflect and think about their behavior, and so that if it were to happen again, whether they get a redirect or they get some feedback they don't want to hear, or it's a non-preferred activity, what are they going to do when this situation happens again, and how will they handle it differently? Again, this is a teachable moment. We're teaching students skills. You may want to pause the video to take a look at an example of traditional approaches versus restorative approaches, as well as the URL for the source document for where this information came from. There is a saying that if you're on an airplane, there's turbulence and the oxygen masks fall down, you should put the oxygen mask on yourself first before going and assisting others. This is very true when you have turbulence in your classroom. Make sure that you are right first. You are in control of your emotions, you are in control of your behavior before you say anything to your students and react to their misbehavior. Take a deep breath, think about what you're going to say, and make a plan for how you're going to redirect and address the misbehavior. We address this when minimizing disruptive behavior in our video one or part one of our teacher taking flight series. If we take a look at the different nonverbal and body language, these are small behavior moves on your part that can really help minimize and de-escalate students. Some of these are easy, some of these may be hard for you, but it is good for you to think and reflect on your position on each one. If as soon as a student starts misbehaving, you brace yourself and cross your arms, that could be sending a signal to your student, hey, game on, she's getting ready. We want to avoid that. We want to stay calm and neutral. By implementing these strategies, new teachers can create positive and productive classroom environments that minimize disruptive behavior and enhance student learning. Students will mirror the teacher's calm demeanor, which can help in managing stress and anxiety. By modeling positive behavior, teachers can foster a supportive and engaging classroom environment to enhance student learning and behavior. I have heard that a fence at the top of a cliff is better than an ambulance at the bottom. So when we put a fence at the top of a cliff to protect our students from going over the edge, we're persistent in that. If the fence breaks down, we repair it immediately. And the fence is always up protecting our students and setting our students up for success. That fence is our routines, our procedures, and our expectations. Being consistent with all of these will help our students from going over the edge. Being consistent and sustaining your expectations will be one of the most challenging parts of a first year. Why is that? Because students will test your boundaries and push the limits. Why do they do that? Because that's a natural part of growing up. And when students are learning who you are and gaining your trust, they will test you to see if you're really going to do what you say you're going to do. Can they believe you? And that takes time. However, if you're consistent, that time can be greatly speeded up. Understand that the best way to deal with serious behavior problems is to prevent them from occurring in the first place. That's why we have pushed in part 1 and 2 and 3 that it's very important to teach your routines and procedures just as you would your content, making sure that you have really tight and clear systems for how everything operates in your class and that you're giving students positive reinforcement for when they meet your expectations. Accent the positive and eliminate or drastically curtail the negative. Remember, in SciFair, we have a 5-to-1 praise to correction ratio, which means students are hearing that they're doing the right thing 5 times more than correction. View behavioral problems as instructional problems. This is lack of skill. When a student has a lack of skill, if it's math or science, then I teach and practice it. We do the same for behavior. Remember that telling is not teaching. We have to teach the behavior and practice the behaviors we want to see. Know what is going on in your classroom. Be very aware. That old adage, eyes in the back of your head, is very true. Practice it with your students. Let them know that you're seeing them, monitoring them. Recognize that the only behavior you can truly control is your own. And teach relentlessly. Let students know that you're passionate about your subject and your content, and that it's very important to you that they learn and grow as students. Let's summarize our learning for today. In part 3, we've discussed how to address misbehavior. The main thing is to stay calm and composed and have a plan. We've discussed the importance of being consistent. Teach your routines and procedures proactively with clear language, and use a teach, don't tell behavioral approach. Addressing misbehavior effectively is an important skill for any teacher, especially a first-year teacher. Here's some reminders of strategies and tips to help you manage and respond to misbehavior in a way that helps maintain positive classroom environments. Stay calm and composed. Take that deep breath. If you feel yourself getting frustrated, take a moment to breathe and collect your thoughts before responding. Remember that consistency is key. Apply the same rules and consequences to all students every time. Classroom management is a team sport. Everybody's meeting expectations. It's not personal. It's not about individual students. It's about everyone. Avoid public confrontations. Whenever possible, address misbehavior privately rather than in front of the whole class. This can prevent defensiveness. Speak in quiet, private conversations. They're more effective in getting a student to understand and reflect on their behavior. Use clear language and focus on the behavior, not the person. Address the behavior and how they're not meeting your expectation, not the student's character. Encourage reflective moments. Use those restorative practices and restorative questions to help students learn what to do in the next moment. Use logical consequences. Consequences that are logical and related to the misbehavior. For instance, if a student makes a mess, the logical consequence would be for them to clean it up. Get to know your students. Build strong, positive relationships with your students can prevent misbehavior. Being consistent builds trust, and trust is the foundation for all good relationships. Remember, addressing misbehavior is not just about correcting students, but also teaching them better ways to behave, giving them the skills they need for this moment and for the next moment. With patience, consistency, and a positive approach, you can create classroom environments where all students can learn and succeed. We encourage you to implement the strategies in this video to enhance your classroom management. Thank you for taking the time to view our professional development on demand. Good luck and see you next time.